So, and I think I can introduce you in German a little bit
Okay.
with some words, and then we can start and switch over to
Okay.
English. Ja, einen wunderschönen guten Abend, liebe Coaches, für die heutige zweite Klinik des Tages. Dieses Mal mit dem bereits bekannten Coach John Bond. Coach Bond hat unter anderem an mehreren Division I Colleges für mehr als 30 Jahren gearbeitet als Quarterback Coach, als Offense Coordinator, unter anderem bei UMass, Georgia Tech. Und Coach Bond wird uns heute etwas über das Passing Game und die Entwicklung eines Championship Quarterbacks erzählen. So, Coach Bond, it's up to you, and we are excited to listen to your insight on developing a championship quarterback.
Okay, great. Well, hey, listen, guys, I will have the chat open. And if you have any questions or you need me to slow down, feel free to ask questions. Or if I'm speaking too fast, tell me to slow down. But it's a big honor for me to be able to bring football over to Europe and Germany in particular. So I've been able to do this one time and feel very fortunate to have been able to do that. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. What I wanted to talk about today is developing a quarterback and then developing a pass and attack that you can win with. Okay. So can you hear me, John? Are we good?
Yes, we're good. We can hear you clearly.
Okay. The first thing I want to talk about is some must-haves. When you're trying to figure out who your quarterback is, some must-haves that he needs to have if he's going to lead your football team to a winning season or a championship. And the first thing is he's got to be tough. He's got to be not only physically tough, but he's got to be mentally tough, because he's the guy that is going to hear all the criticism. He's going to be the guy that has to hear all the fans in the stands being critical if he's not playing well. He's got to be able to handle if you have any media that you have to deal with. He's going to have to talk to the media and be able to take criticism that way. And, he's got to handle it from his buddies, his friends, his girlfriends, everybody. The two people that get the most criticism are the head coach and the quarterback. So he's got to be mentally tough as well as physically tough. And, he's got to be one of the toughest guys, if not the toughest guy on your entire football team, because he's got to be able to step into a throw, make a throw, take a shot, get hit right in the mouth, and get up and go again. So his toughness is a quality that is a must-have in your quarterback. The next thing that is a must-have is he's got to be competitive. So it doesn't matter if he's playing soccer or ping pong or tennis or cards or bowling or whatever he's doing, you want him to be the most competitive guy in the room. I've never been around a great quarterback who wasn't unbelievably competitive. And within that, he needs to be a good leader. He doesn't necessarily have to be a great vocal leader. He doesn't have to scream and yell to get guys to follow him. But he's got to be a guy that talks with his play. And if he is a vocal leader, that's even better, because you do not want to play a quarterback that his teammates won't follow him and don't respect him. You've got to have those qualities in your quarterback. Depending on what offense you're running, if you're in some of these spread offenses that you aren't dropping back and throwing the football 25 or 30 times a game, it might not be as an important factor. But if you're in a pro-style offense, he's got to be an accurate quarterback. Strong arms are overrated. Accurate quarterbacks are not. Those guys that can put the ball where they want to put the ball and complete passes are the guys that need to be playing. Strong arms are sexy. Strong arms, everybody will say, wow, oh my goodness, look how far he can throw the ball. Look how hard he can throw the ball. That is meaningless if the ball's hitting the ground. You want a guy that can be an accurate passer. And the most accurate passers don't necessarily have the strongest arms. So accuracy is a huge factor in choosing who your quarterback is, way more than this arm strength. Those are some things that you must have in your quarterback. Some things that are misconceptions that aren't necessarily true about quarterbacks are they don't have to be 6'4". They don't have to be tall. The best quarterback I ever coached was 5'10". He played in the CFL. He just retired last year. He played in the CFL for 19 years, and he threw for like 56,000 yards in the Canadian Football League, and he was 5'10". Everybody recruits in college and the NFL, they're wrapped up in height. But just because you're tall, that does not make you a quarterback. What makes you a quarterback is being able to see down the field, be able to move in the pocket, get yourself where you can see and make throws. I mean, if you think about it, even in the National Football League, where those quarterbacks are all 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", they're still not seeing over their offensive linemen. He's got offensive linemen that are 6'5", 6'6", defensive ends 6'7", with arms, that can touch the sky. They're not throwing over those guys. They're moving and creating space with their feet within the pocket to allow them to throw the football. The second misconception is a big arm that we just talked about. A big arm, a strong arm is very, very overrated. Strong arms, if the ball's hitting the ground, if he throws the ball too hard, he doesn't have good touch, he's not accurate, all that is 2nd and 10. All that is on 3rd down, he's throwing incompletion, the crowd's oohing and on because of how hard he threw the ball or how far he threw the ball, and you're still 2nd and 10 or punting or 3rd and 10 or whatever the case may be. But accuracy is way more important than a strong arm. And lastly, he doesn't have to be fast. He just has to be fast enough to whether if you're running a zone read, he can go get you about 4 or 5 yards, or if he has to scramble, he can go scramble for a 1st down and get down. But speed, just because you're fast, that does not mean that you're a quarterback. A great thing about a quarterback is his savvy. He doesn't have to have a strong arm. He doesn't have to be tall. He doesn't have to be fast. He does have to understand your offense. He does have to be tough. He does have to be competitive. He does have to be a leader. And if you can find those guys that fit that bill, that's who you want your quarterback, all right? Just because a guy has the most talent, that doesn't necessarily mean he needs to be your quarterback. And I've got one question right here. When we talk about must-haves and searching for a quarterback, how would you find a quarterback out of a group of 25 to 30 kids and no option to recruit another? What would your advice be? The first thing I would do is I would get those kids, I would pair them up, and I would just start having them toss the football, throw the football back and forth to each other 10, 15, 20 yards and see, okay, who can throw the ball? Who is capable of throwing a decent pass? Because depending on what type of offense you're running, he doesn't have to be the greatest passer. But what he does have to do is he does have to be able to complete passes. So he does have to be able to function and have some function and able to complete a pass. That's the first thing I would do is pair them up, see who naturally throws the football, who doesn't, and you can start weeding them out from there. But that's the first thing I would do is who can functionally throw a football to where, it would be good enough to be your quarterback. There's I'm getting ready to share 8 things with you that are so important about throwing a football that is so overlooked. They're overlooked in the United States. They're overlooked by coaches. They're overlooked by college coaches. They're overlooked by pro coaches. But the basic fundamentals of how to throw the football, okay? I believe that power, accuracy, and consistency come from your lower body. They come from your feet, all right? Obviously, you have to know how to grip a football. Obviously, you have to know how to throw the football. But power, accuracy, and consistency come from your feet. Over the years, I started coaching quarterbacks in 1991 at the University of Texas, El Paso. And over the years, I got to where about 98.5% of the time, I could tell why a quarterback missed a throw by watching his feet, okay? And the number one thing that you have to look at is a quarterback's base. He wants his feet on every possible throw to be shoulder width or wider when he starts, okay? I'm getting ready to show you a picture of Tom Brady. Can y'all see Tom Brady right there? He is coaching Deion Sanders' son. Okay, Deion Sanders' son is a senior in Dallas, I believe. But you can see Tom Brady's feet. You see how wide they are? You see how wide Deion Sanders' son's feet are. That's what you're looking for, okay? Now, you see his feet are wider than his shoulders, okay? Now, he's bent a little bit too far at the waist for my taste. Can you see that? He's bent over just a little bit, Tom Brady is. And I'm sure he's doing that just to make a point for his feet, because if you watch him play, he's not bent down that far. But you want to be standing pretty tall and use your height when you're back there. But the number one thing that you want to have is a wide base, okay? And we'll talk about why as we go forward. But the next point is, can you see in this picture his weight? Where's his weight? Jordan, can you see where his weight is?
Oh, yes, on the back foot.
Yes. His weight is back. And if you correlate this to another sport, I don't know how many of you guys play golf, but when you get on the tee box and you're getting ready to hit that golf ball and it's a 500-yard par 5, I'm betting that your feet aren't all narrow. I'm betting you have a really good base. Or if you've ever watched baseball and you see guys get in the batter's box, what kind of stance do they have? They're shoulder width or wider. They have a good base. The guy's wanting to knock a home run. Where's his feet? Where's his weight? His weight is back. Why? Because he's got to shift that weight and have good weight transfer in order to fully get all the power that he can get. So what you're seeing, whether it's Deion Sanders' son or Tom Brady, that you want that wide base and you want them to warm up like that. So many guys warm up with a very narrow base and they don't practice what they need to be doing. But every time they warm their arm up, you want them to start with a wide base and their weight back to practice shifting that weight and practice not having a big old long stride. Because what happens with the big old long stride, when you overstride, your arm never catches up with the rest of your body, okay? Your arm ends up being behind your body. And when that happens, your arm can never catch up to the rest of your body. And what ideally what you'd like to have is when you have that big old wide base, okay, you really want to just take like a 3 to 4 to 5 inch step at the most, okay? Because when that ball comes out, that release point for that quarterback, if you can envision this, that release point for that quarterback, you should be able to drive a rod, something straight. You should be able to drive a rod from the palm of his hand through the tip of his chest through the front of his kneecap, through the ball of his foot. That is the proper release point. Well, these guys that overstride, they end up, their feet are here, then they take a big old long stride and their arm is behind and it can't ever catch up, okay? And that being the case, when it can't ever catch up, the ball either sails and goes too high or it goes in the dirt, okay? Now, I'm not saying every time you overstride, you're going to miss throws, because you're not, but you're losing that consistency. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about? So number one, wide base, shoulder width or wider. You need to be writing this down, you quarterback coaches. Number one is wide base. Number two, weight back. 75% of your weight should be back. 75-25 should be the ratio from your weight on this back foot right here, because you need to be ready to throw that right hand and knock that guy out. Joe Louis, Max Schmeling. Remember that back in the day? Y'all probably read about that. Those guys, when they were trying to knock each other out, I promise you they weren't straight up and down. They had their base and they had their weight back and they shifted their weight, and that was when they were trying to knock each other out. They weren't just throwing jabs straight up and down. You want that weight back to be able to throw that right hand if you're a right-handed quarterback. So wide base, weight back. 3, short step. You want to take a short step. Now, if you've been listening, why do you want to have a short step and not a long step when you stride to throw the football? Who can tell me? Can anybody tell me? You want to take a short step because if you overstride, remember your arm is behind your body. It can never catch up. And when you overstride, you take a big old long stride with that lead foot, the ball's going to sail or it's going to go in the dirt. Does everybody understand that concept? Can everybody understand that concept? Is everybody hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Next thing is, I'm going to try to demonstrate. The next thing, so I'm sitting here with my wide base. Can y'all see me in my weight back? Can you see what that's supposed to look like?
Yes.
Okay. The next thing is, if I'm a right-handed quarterback and I'm throwing right here at this screen, I'm throwing right at the screen. If I'm throwing right at the screen, I want to take my left foot and I want to step about 2 inches to the left of that screen. I don't want to step right at the screen. That's a common misconception that I even coached for years, is step at your target. But I want to show you guys something. My toe is pointed right to the middle of that screen, but I want you to see where my hips are. Do you see where my hips are? They're not to the target. And if my hips aren't in line with the target, then that means I'm not getting maximum weight shift. Can you see that? Can you see my hands? I'm stepping right at the screen, but my hands, my belly button is off in that direction. Well, I'm just going to take my toe and I'm going to go about 2 inches past this screen to the left. Now I want you to look at my hips. See where they're in line? Y'all see that? Okay. Wide base, weight back, short step. Number 4 is step slightly to the left of your target. So all my weight shift is going forward. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If you just translate it to other sports, okay? You take a baseball pitcher, all right? If the mound is here and home plate's here, ideally his toe when he lands is just a little bit slightly to the left so he can get his weight and hips going 100% to his target. If he's closed off with his toe, if his toe's not open, if his toe is closed, that means his hips are over here. He's losing power. You're not getting full weight shift, okay? Same thing in a golf swing, and you guys play golf. Where are you supposed to be facing after you swing? I hit the ball. My weight has gone. Most guys, you think about Tiger Woods, okay? Ernie Els, whoever. Who's a great German golfer? Give me a great German golfer. Is there a good German golfer? Does anybody know?
I don't know one.
Okay.
It's Bernhard
There you go, Bernhard Langer.
Langer.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, when he drives that ball, he's got a big wide base, and when he hits through, his hips are facing his target. It's the same thing with throwing a football. So I've got wide base, I've got weight back, I've got short step, I've got step slightly to the left of your target. Okay? The next thing, when I throw the football, you'll notice this is the first thing in upper body that I've talked about. But when you have a quarterback that's throwing a football, you don't want a guy with a low elbow. You want a guy that is parallel to the ground or higher, because those guys that drop their elbow lose accuracy. You want that elbow up here, all right? You want the elbow parallel or higher to the ground. So when I'm throwing that football, that's what that release point should look like, okay? Boom, that's where it should be. It's not down here. You think about watching all these NFL teams, how many guys with a low release do you ever see? Phillip Rivers with the Chargers, and that's it. Everybody is here to here. That ball should be coming out here, parallel or higher. Everybody understand? Okay, next. Let's see if you can see this. My lead leg. When I throw, I want to have just a little bit of flexion in this knee right here. I don't want to lock it out, okay? I don't want to lock it out. I want to have, when I hit, I want to have a little bit of bend in my knee, because that's going to allow me to shift all my weight through. If you are here and throw, but you lock that knee out right there, you're losing weight shift, which means you're losing power, if that makes sense. And it's called Z in the knee. You want to have a little bit of Z in the knee, meaning you want to have just a little flexion in that lead leg. You want a little flexion right there so I can get all my weight shifted, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next thing, when I was coaching Army, I coached this quarterback by the name of Chad Jenkins. And he was about 175 pounds soaking wet, 175 pounds max. And he was a tough, competitive, all those characteristics I talked about. He didn't have a very strong arm. And, man, he would get back there and he would put so much into his throws, and his head would keep jerking to the left. Well, he was trying so hard to get so much into his throws that he was pulling his head off, and I noticed he was missing throws a lot in front and behind, because you've got to keep that head still. You want to keep your head still, all right? And the last is your follow through. When I follow through, that back leg should come off the ground. That back leg should come off the ground. I should land right on balance with my feet very close to being parallel, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, Coach.
So it would be better if I could show all that in person and talk. That would be a day's talk just on how to properly throw a football, because there are so many coaches that don't talk about how to throw a football, the best way to get the most power, accuracy, and consistency. So this is what we talked about. wide base, weight back, short step, step slightly to the left of your target, elbow parallel to the ground or higher, Z in the knee, head still, follow through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The last part of that is when you are sitting back there with that wide base and you're sitting there with that weight back, you really want to drive off that back foot or back hip. If you're throwing a curl or a dig or a comeback or, whatever, you want to really drive off that back hip, just like a pitcher on the pitcher's mound, driving off that back leg to generate power. But see, again, when I'm back here like this with my weight back, you're going to have more power than the guy that's standing straight up and down, okay? When your feet are wide, shoulder width or wider, and you take that short step, your arm is always going to be working with your body. If you got your feet right here and they overstride, your arm is going to be behind and never be able to catch up. The trick to all this, you quarterback coaches, the trick to this, all you quarterback coaches, is when they take their drop, you've got to make them hit with a base, shoulder width or wider, every single time. That's what I spent 85% of my time on, was letting those quarterbacks feel what it felt like to have their feet in the proper place in order to make an accurate throw. So if you're underneath the center or you're in the shotgun, does not matter. What matters is when you get to where you are in your drop, you've got to drill it to where they are hitting every single time with their feet like they're supposed to be and their weight back. Because if you can get them to that point, it's kind of like these basketball players who go to the free throw line. They go to the free throw line, and usually all these guys have a routine. They might dribble 3 times. They might dribble twice. They might spin it, but they have a routine that they perform before they shoot a free throw. That's what that feels like to that quarterback if you can get him with his feet in the proper place every single time. That is the trick to being a good quarterback coach, is watching his feet. Are they supposed to be where they're supposed to be when it's time to make the throw? I take my drop, my feet need to be right. I take my drop, I'm getting pressure, I have to move, I get my feet right. I would challenge all of you quarterback coaches that are listening today to go and Google Peyton Manning, Google Drew Brees, Google Tom Brady, and just watch their feet when they take a drop. Watch how Drew Brees is wider than those other 2 guys, and he's a little guy. His feet are way wider. His feet were wider than Tom Brady's in that picture that I showed you. But again, that reason for that wide base is you can't overstride. So your arm is always working in connection with your body. So that rod, when you release that ball, can run right down from the palm of your hand to the tip of your chest, front of the kneecap to the ball of your foot. That's the proper release point. But you get that wide base so your arm can work with your body. You get your weight back for the power. You take your short step for your arm to work with your body. You step slightly to the left of your target in order to get maximum weight shift, okay? Because whether it's Tiger Woods or Bernard Langer hitting a golf ball, or any of these tennis players, when they hit a forehand, or think about when they're getting ready to receive a serve, how wide their base is. Okay? Now, we're not going to have our quarterbacks as wide as some of those guys, but you want them to be shoulder width for sure. Is everybody good with that?
Yes, Coach.
Coaches, when we get off tonight, Google Peyton Manning especially, and just watch him in the pocket where his feet are all the time. Watch when he has to scramble in the pocket. Watch what happens when he gets his feet back right every single time. That's why those guys are as good as they are, is because they're so consistent with their footwork. Does everybody understand? Am I going too fast?
No, it's good, Coach.
Okay. I know how much you guys are dying for scheme and X's and O's and all that. There is nothing more important in the game of football than fundamentals. And there is nothing in the game of football more important than a quarterback's fundamentals. The more consistent your quarterback's fundamentals are, the more consistent your quarterback is going to be. The more consistent your quarterback is, the more consistently you're going to win. Nothing more important. I know X's and O's and the plays and all that stuff are sexy and great. What wins are the fundamentals, especially at quarterback. Especially. Okay? Okay, next point, the development of your quarterback. The development of your quarterback. Tell your quarterback to never take a sack. Sacks suck. Sacks stink, okay? Instead of being, second and whatever, you're second and 17. They kill momentum. They give momentum to the other team. It changes field position. Sacks are a killer. The best quarterback coaches are the ones that do the best job of giving their quarterbacks outlets, teaching their quarterbacks, okay, if the house caves in and you're getting pressure, this is where you can throw the football so you don't have to take a sack. Now, if you're in the red zone and you've got a great kicker and you've got points on the board and you take a sack, yeah, we can live with that. But the rest of the time, sacks stink. Whether it's on a naked bootleg, whether any situation, sacks stink. The best coaches, quarterback coaches, are the ones that do the best job of coaching their quarterbacks' feet, coaching their quarterbacks to not take sacks. How, if I call a pass, where can I throw the football so I don't take a sack and we're 2nd and 19 instead of 2nd and 10? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely, Coach.
Number 2, never say, don't throw an interception. Never say, don't throw an interception. Now, all of us don't ever want our quarterback to throw an interception. However, when you say never throw an interception, all right, first of all, you're talking in negative terms. Second of all, it plants that negative thought in his mind. But number 2, and more importantly, you don't want a quarterback that's scared to make a throw. You don't want a quarterback that's scared to make a play. Because at some point in time, in one of those years where you win a championship, your quarterback is going to have to step up and make a throw in traffic, a tough throw. And you don't want him scared of doing that. And the best quarterback coaches are the ones that walk that fine line between having a quarterback not afraid to make a throw and scared to make a mistake. Give a guy some rope early. Give a guy some rope early. meaning let him make a dumb throw or two and then reeling back in, as opposed to coaching so conservative that he never makes a play. Does that make sense? Okay. Number 3, scramble,
Coach,
throw.
one question. I typed it
Yes.
in the chat. Would you suggest the quarterback to throw a ball into traffic on Skelly when everything is in good coverage, or would you tell him to tuck the ball and run?
That is a great, great question. Okay. Number 1, you want to teach your quarterback the difference between a dumb throw and a throw that's not dumb. Okay. So when he's in pass skeleton, when you're in Skelly and the play is covered, what I teach the guy to do is to throw the ball away. That's what I teach the guy to do. If it's covered, sail the ball out of bounds. Throw it in the dirt, because you're teaching that skill not only of not forcing footballs, but you're also teaching him not to take sacks. So if the play is covered, throw the ball away. What I'm suggesting is pass Skelly is good for 2 things. It's good for the timing of the passing game, and it's good for the spacing of the passing game. That's it. The rest of it is not very it doesn't apply to football very much. Quarterbacks get a false sense of security in pass skill. No one's rushing at them trying to take their head off. There's no pressure. You're just back there having the greatest time ever, throwing the ball, with nobody coming after you. Where quarterbacks develop is in team pass or team blitz. But you want to use your pass skeletons for timing and spacing. That's it. If he's forcing a ball in scale, I'm not too happy about it. All right. If he's forcing it in a team situation, now I'm using that as a teaching moment for you. Okay. If he's just being plain stupid and he forces the ball over and over and over, now I'm going to rip his butt. I'm going to make him run. I'm going to embarrass him. But the rest of the time, I'm coaching him and teaching him, if that makes sense.
Yes,
But if
Coach.
I'm in Pascal and the play is covered, no, I'm teaching him to throw the ball away in the dirt or out of bounds where I'm not taking sacks, because you're teaching something that's very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
If that does that make sense to you?
Yes, that makes sense. We've got another question from another coach. A coach
Okay.
asked, if my quarterback throw into traffic and he often throw interceptions in these situations, how do you prevent that he don't lose confidence?
Well, that's a great question. But you know what? I'm going to sound like my old college coach. If he's doing this a lot, if he's throwing the ball into traffic and he often throws interceptions, I'm more worried about him affecting my confidence, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
At that point, if he's forcing balls and throwing interceptions, you've got to get his attention. You've got to rip his butt. You've got to sit him down. You've got to run him. You've got to do something to reinforce that we are not going to be stupid with this football. There's a fine line between being stupid with the football and turning the ball over, and every now and then throwing a ball in traffic to make a play, if that makes sense. If he's doing this very much at all, if he's forcing balls into coverage and throwing into traffic very much at all, that's where you got to get in his butt. You got to get his attention. That cannot happen, because if he's turning the ball over too much, he can't play. My college coach, Lou Holtz, said, if you punt on 4th down, that's not a bad deal on offense. But if you're throwing interceptions and turn the ball over, that's a very bad deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, my point in saying all that is if he's being dumb with the football, you got to get his attention. You got to jerk him out of practice. You got to yell at him. You got to do something to get his attention to make him understand that is unacceptable. And if you keep doing that, I'm going to put you on the bench because you're better off with a guy not turning the ball over than you are somebody who's got a big arm and he's got, he's sexy and all that, but he's turning the ball over, he's getting you beat. So if he's throwing a bunch of interceptions, I'm not worried about his confidence. I'm worried about my confidence in him, if that makes sense. Because you can't play a guy who's going to turn the ball over and be stupid with the football.
Yeah, that's good, Coach.
Scramble to throw. Scramble to throw. When you quarterback coaches do your scramble drills, you need to make him run out of the pocket, and you need to be standing on the other side of the line of scrimmage. You need to be watching his eyes. His eyes need to be up, and his eyes need to be downfield, okay? Every play, every time we had a pass skill, I used one throw out of that pass scale every single session, and I'd whisper to my quarterback, scramble. That makes the receivers use their scramble rules. That makes the defense be disciplined. That forces your entire football team to practice that situation every single day, and it helps your quarterback practice scramble with his eyes downfield. Because if his eyes are downfield, you know as well as I do, those defenders, if they haven't practiced that situation a lot, they'll lose receivers. You'll have guys wide open 30 and 40 yards down the field, nobody even close. And you don't want to lose out on that opportunity for a big play by having his eyes down. Now, is it awesome when he scrambles and runs and gets a first down? Yeah, it's awesome. Very awesome. But what would even be more awesome is to hit that guy that's wide open 40 yards down the field and score a touchdown. That'd even be more awesome. So when you practice your scrambles, when you're coaching your quarterbacks, get on the other side of the line of scrimmage so you can watch his eyes when he moves and make sure he's practicing having his eyes downfield. Make sure all you offensive coaches have scramble rules for your wide receivers so they know what to do when your quarterback scrambles. Okay?
Yes, Coach.
Does everybody have scramble rules for their wide receivers and tight ends and running backs? Does everybody have scramble rules?
I think so, but maybe you can present us your basic idea.
Scramble rules. If you are scrambling, your quarterback is scrambling to the right, okay, and you're the farthest receiver over here to the left. Our scramble rules were if you were the farthest receiver away from the quarterback, you headed to the post, okay? If you were the next farthest away, you would just sprint and try to get relative to the quarterback where you could get in his vision. All right? If you were the deepest receiver to the side this quarterback was scrambling to, you were coming back to the ball. If you were the shortest, if you were in the flat, say you're a running back and you're in the flat and the quarterback scrambles to you and you run out of room over there, you turn it up on the sideline. Everybody else is just trying to get in the quarterback's vision. But you got to practice that every single day. Every single day. And a great time to do that is one time a day. Whisper to your quarterback. Nobody else knows. Receivers don't know. Defense doesn't know. And everybody practices your scrambles one time a day. This is about number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5, protect your quarterbacks inside out. If you're getting a lot of 5 guys out in empty backfields, do not give up A-gap or B-gap run-throughs. That's the quickest way to get your quarterback hurt. You protect your quarterback inside out. You protect him A-gap to B-gap. Now, you may get sacked outside, but I'm not going to get him hurt that way. I'm going to get him hurt if they're coming right up to shoot unmolested. And A-gap to B-gap. Protect him inside out. Know who to throw to on the blitz. Know who to throw to on the blitz. Your quarterback needs to be extremely well schooled in your passing game on, if I'm getting pressure here, do I have a hot? Who is it? Who are my check downs? Know who to throw to on the blitz. This is a must. Put your quarterback in adverse situations in practice. Make it hard for your quarterback in practice. For example, if you're running an option, if you're an option team and you're running an option to the right, be the defensive end or outside backer. Make him pitch the ball quicker than what he wants to or he's ready for. Practice that. Let him get a feel for that. Make it be where if he can execute in practice, he can execute in the game. Not all the time. It doesn't have to be hard every single rep, but there needs to be a pretty decent amount and during your practice of making it hard on that guy. I'm in blitz period. Make it hard on him. Give him the toughest looks, if that makes sense. Zone reads, if you're a zone read team, give him the toughest looks possible, especially early in the week. The closer you get to game time, now it's about giving him confidence. But earlier in the week, make it hard on that guy. Force him to make throws in practice. Meaning, you're naked or bootleg, all right? And all of a sudden, he's got a guy in his face right now. Just like we talked about putting him in adverse situations in practice. He's got a guy right in his face right now. Well, make him practice that throw. I had to raise my elbow up and shoot a little jump shot over his head. I had to drop down sidearm to get it out. I had to pump fake him and get around him. Practice. Make him practice hard throws. Did anybody watch The Last Dance? Did anybody see that? About Michael Jordan and the Bulls? Did anybody see that in Europe?
Yes, I saw that.
Germany?
Yeah, we can see that on Netflix.
Yeah, have you seen any of it yet?
Yes.
Well, all those turnaround jump shots that Michael Jordan made, those fadeaway jump shots, those just didn't happen automatically. He practiced them to where it looked like he made it look easy, but he was practicing those turnaround, fall away jump shots. Same way the quarterback. You've got to make him practice throws. I'm throwing a swing route to a back, and there's a defender between me and the back with his hands up. Practice that. Force him to make tough throws in practice. The more you do that to your quarterback, the more he'll perform better in the game for you. I can't tell you how many times during the course of a year where I would be doing that naked bootleg drill and I would be in his face quicker than what he was ready for. But we had practiced the sidearm throw, the pump fake and run around, lofting it over my arms. Well, I'd put him in that situation enough that when that thing happened in the fall, he was able to execute it. That's what you want your quarterback to do. I got a swing route to the left. There's a guy there's an outside backer in my vision with his arms up. Practice that throw over and over and over. All that stuff, you've got to force him to make throws in practice. Put him in adverse situations and force him to make hard throws. Completable throws situations are going to come up during the course of the game. Put him in those situations, have him practice those throws. just like Michael Jordan practiced those fall-away jump shots. Okay. Next part is when you're coaching wide receivers, release with speed. Release with speed. If they come up and press your receivers in coverage, the last thing you want is a receiver out there dancing, because my quarterback is back there getting ready to get his head taken off because that knucklehead out there at wide receiver is dancing. Get his butt up the field. Get him going north and south up the field. Number one. Number two, teach those guys to expect the football. I never, to this day, told guys you weren't getting the ball. You're just a decoy. I don't tell them that. I want them to expect they're getting the ball and run like they're expecting to get the ball. Make sure when they catch the football and they head to the north and south. Get their butt up the field. Don't let them run sideways. All right. I used to always tell them, hey, catch the ball and get me 5. You get up the field for 5 yards. Then, hey, anything else you want to do, great. But get me 5 yards after you catch that football. And then anything else you can do, that's on you. But catch the ball and get north. Don't catch the ball and run sideways forever. Catch it and get north. Don't be a robot. Get open. If you're seeing a zone coverage team, there's no reason for a guy to run out there and just sit if there's not a window. He's got to move. He's got to move. If I got a defender here, he's got to slide here. If I got slide here. Don't be a robot. Go get open. Just because coach told me I'm running a 12-yard curl route, well, someone's in that throwing lane, will get where he's not. Don't be a robot. My coach told me I'm running this route. Well, great. If you're covered, get open. Our quarterback is going to be able to move around a little bit. Don't be a robot. Be athletic and stay alive. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, this is probably going to be about the last thing we have time for. But when you're creating your passing attack, we've spent all that time on quarterback play. But when you're creating your passing attack, play to the strengths of your personnel. Put your receivers where they fit best. Are they a slot guy? Are they wide? Are they a tight end? Are they a back? Play to your strengths. Whatever your guys do the best, do those things with them. Just because you have a playbook with all these plays doesn't mean – that means nothing if you got guys out there that aren't good at them. You got to put in what those guys do well. And that includes your offensive line. If they're big, fat, and slow, you can't have too many situations where you're putting them man on man. You've got to slide your protection, give them a gap, but don't put, or a little guy or whatever. If you've got mismatches when you're trying to, block guys man on man, don't do that to them. Change your protection up. Play to the strengths of your football players. You must throw completions, period. If you don't throw completions, you don't have a passing game. It doesn't matter how strong your quarterback's arm is. Doesn't matter how fast your receivers are. If they can't catch it and he can't throw it, it's worthless. You don't have a passing game if you don't throw completions. I would much rather have 2nd and 5 on a little dump down throw all day long than a quarterback trying to throw 15-yard dig routes and comebacks and curls and all this and all that, and he can't complete it or we can't catch him. I'd rather be 2nd and 5 than 2nd and 10 all day. Route running discipline is a must. Make those guys be where they're supposed to be. If a quarterback is expecting a guy to be at 6 yards on a hitch, make the guy be at 6 yards. And if that guy's not at 6 yards, that quarterback needs to be letting him know, hey, doom call, 6 yards, right? Get your butt to 6. Route running discipline is a must. If you started watching all the college teams and pro teams, if you started watching their games and you put a stopwatch from the time the center snaps the ball until the time the quarterback is either throwing the football or having to move or getting sacked, from the time the guy snaps it until the time something has happened is around 2.1 to 2.2, 2.1, 2.2 seconds. That's how long you got. That's how long you got. A lot of offensive coaches' route depths don't match the timing of the throw. Just because the 49ers run that at 18 yards doesn't mean your team needs to be running at 18 yards. Just because last year you ran your comebacks at 12 yards, that doesn't mean you're running like that this year, because your guy may be slower. Your guy may not have a strong arm. And that goes back to playing to your strengths. Don't be greedy. Dump the ball down. If you're throwing smash with a corner and a little hitch, you got the hitch in the corner behind it, I'll throw the hitch all day long and thank you after the game. I want to throw the hitch. I really, really desperately want to throw the hitch. I want to complete as many passes as I can complete. If I'm 18 out of 20, I bet you I won that football game. I bet you I did. Because if what happens, I'm completing passes, I'm making first downs, I'm probably scoring points. Don't be greedy. Dump the ball down. It's not open, drop it off short. 100%. Drop it down short. Rhythm. Make your quarterback throw on time. If your guys aren't open, your receivers aren't open, it's the receiver's responsibility to get open. Period. It's the receiver's responsibility to be where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. If he's not, it's his fault. As a coach, you got to know what you're getting defensively. What am I seeing? What coverages am I seeing? In another talk, I'll be glad to do another talk. We can talk about what we like versus what route concepts we like versus different coverages. We can do that. We can do all kinds of stuff. But you've got to know what you're getting defensively in order to know how to attack it. And you've got to be able to stretch the ball horizontally and vertically. The best passing teams I was on were a great 4 vertical team. We were a great 4 vertical team. Does anybody have any questions? Because it's 4:03 now. Joe and I'd be glad to come back another day. There's a lot more we can talk about because we never really got into Philadelphia 3-step, 5-step, sprint out, play action, all those kinds of things. I can do that talk another day. But does anybody have any questions now about what I talked about?
No, I will check our chat.
Then
No questions now. But I really like the idea to continue the series we built up and talk a little bit about routes against different coverages. I think that's something that can help our offense coordinators over here and the quarterbacks to get some keys and insights.
I'll be very happy to do that. I would be honored to do that. But if I could leave you guys with one thing, I know you guys and all young coaches, all coaches are always excited about X's and O's. All the coaches over here, everybody gets excited about a new scheme or a new this or a new that, and all that's awesome. What wins football games is fundamentals. How to tackle, how to cover, how to block. Your quarterback's fundamentals, his footwork, your running back's footwork, your offensive lineman's footwork. That's what wins games and championships is fundamentals. Great, those plays, they're awesome, okay? But especially over here, once you get to a certain level, pretty much everybody's doing a lot of the same stuff. It gets down to fundamentals. It gets down to toughness. It gets down to hanging in there when you're tired. But mostly, if guys know how to fundamentally play their position, they're going to have a really good chance of being successful. I can't emphasize that enough, is learning the fundamentals. Be the master. Whatever you're coaching, become the master of your position fundamentally. Learn everything you can about that position fundamentally. Just like, offensive guys, defensive guys, what are the two keys to football? Your eyes and your feet. I learned that on defense in 1983 when I was helping coach defense at Arkansas. What are the two keys? Eyes and feet. Eyes and feet. Where are you putting your eyes? How are your feet? And that's exactly what we talked about with these quarterbacks. Wide base, weight back, short step slide to the left of your target, elbow parallel to the ground or higher, Z in the knee, head still, follow through. Over and over and over and over and over. When he hits in his drop, when he has to scramble, he has to move in the pocket to see, get his feet right. I challenge y'all tonight. I know it's 10:07 over there. I challenge you to Google or YouTube Peyton Manning and watch his feet and tell me if they're not exactly like you just heard today. Wide base, weight back, short step. You'll see every bit of it from him and Breeze, Brady. You'll see it from the best. Does anybody have any more questions?
It doesn't seem to me, Coach, but that was a great ending to your
thank you
talk.
so much for having me. I'm hoping you can get me over to Germany. You might not get me I might just stay over there.
Yeah, we do our best.
Yeah, I'd love to come see you guys.
Yes, and we can continue to talk ball over there.
Hey, we could do this all day and half the night. You get some good German beer, and
yeah,
we can do this all day and night.
Yeah, we will absolutely do that. But we will figure out the next topic for the next one, and maybe we have some idea.
Whatever you're interested in, I'll be glad to do.
But I really liked how you break down the basic fundamentals. It was great, and I took a lot of with me, and there are a lot of aspects we can transfer to our game, to our quarterbacks, and develop them a little bit more. It was a great talk, Coach, and thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And
that was great. I enjoyed it, and you just let me know when you want to do it again here.
Yes, we are in contact, and I will call you, Coach. So for today, I wish you a nice day. Thank you really for your taking your time.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.
Goodbye, Coach.
Okay. Bye-bye.